First of all, I did mention the YouTuber in this video, or what we're doing, but I did tell him also that it was something I've never done before in a way. But I want to try something, you know, test the waters a little bit, test the waters. It's basically about growing up with video games and how it's basically impacted him growing up. And he's talking about his experience. And I feel like this resonates with quite a few of my viewers, like I say. So we're going to go straight into it. Here we go. But his name, I will mention, his name is Kneecap Jake. So how I found him was, I don't know, some crazy reason he came up on my YouTube page. And the algorithm was nice to me that day. I've never come across someone like him before. I'm not just saying that, you know, just to give him, you know, credit and everything, blah, 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 blah. I haven't. It's not something that I, like, search up on videos and say, oh, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that. Is it okay to feel like this? I don't really search that regarding my age, but because since I've turned 30, how I've been reflecting on everything, and then this comes across. So, like I say, he does talk about basically his life, video games, how he's adapted to them over the years, but also he does give some great advice, and it's kind of life-changing for me in a way. But I just feel like this is a good place for me to start trying something new with a review and talking about my experience relating to it. All right, but anyway, here we go. Here's the video.
At 12, I didn't just play video games, they totally absorbed me. I'd sneak around my house like Solid Snake, literally practicing stealth moves on my creaky stairs at night time, trying not to wake my parents. At 22, gaming began to feel different. It was still absorbing, but now it had a sense of purpose behind it. Rankings, levels, progression. It was a way to measure myself against something clear. Now at 32, gaming can feel a bit complicated. I might end up scrolling endlessly through the Steam store, getting overwhelmed, and then I wonder why I even bothered trying in the first place. Maybe you've felt this too.
Yeah,
games used to grab you, pull you into worlds you never wanted to leave. Now you sit down after a long day and end up browsing your library until you're too tired or frustrated to even play anything. It's easy to blame modern games, battle passes, fear of missing out, endless grinding, but deep down, you wonder if something inside of you has changed.
Okay, so I'll stop there because this is basically me at the moment. When I was a kid, I started playing video games when I was 5 years old, and that was with Resident Evil 2 out of all games. And Resident Evil 2, again, it just adapted to me to just, I could feel in a different world. But even though it was a horror aspect, and my mum always used to say to me and my dad, no wonder why you can't bloody sleep, because you're playing video games like this. But to them, they don't understand how we feel in these kind of worlds of video games, you know. It was like, it's just the immersion, everything. Even though it was kind of scary at the time for a 5-year-old, I will admit that, it didn't faze me, which is kind of strange for some people. But then again, I used to look at the blood like tomato sauce. But anyway, we'll carry on.
To really understand this, I want to revisit 3 distinct stages of my gaming life. At 12 years old, at 22 years old, and now at 32 years old. 3 different people, 3 different ways of seeing games. By the end, I hope we both understand what happened, why it matters, and maybe how we can find some of that magic once again. Let's start at the beginning, back when immersion came naturally and a single game could feel like your entire world. Back then, games were magic. Metal Gear Solid, Burnout 3, Jak and Daxter, Command & Conquer, Wipeout, Dynasty Warriors. These weren't just distractions. They were part of my identity. They were everything to me. I had fewer gaming choices.
So for me, like I say, it started off for me was Resident Evil 2. But I was playing games like Crash Bandicoot, I was also playing Gran Turismo 1. I think always a Gran Turismo 2. One of them guys. I was playing Sega Rally. Was it Rally or Conor McRae? I have him up there. I'm just trying to think of the other games I was playing. I did make a list of them. Call Borders, FIFA 98. I was getting into football at that time as well. So I had a CR TV, I think I call it a CRT TV. And but funny enough, mine wasn't colored, it was black and white. my dad, he gave me his, I don't know what it was, a red CR TV, black and white thing, but it still worked fine. So I didn't get to see color until I was 7 on a TV. So I was playing games like this. I think not Tomb Raider as much. I did play Tomb Raider a little bit, but later on. That was on Dreamcast. I think that was Last Revelations or something like that. But yeah, so I was playing Call Borders, which was like this snowboarding game. By the way, it's such an amazing game. Yeah, and Resident Evil 2 in black and white, so I didn't really see any sort of color. And Crocker, again, that's been a remake that's just come out recently, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I was fully immersed in all these different worlds, and you're just like, when I was a kid, I was thinking, why can't I just like be in these worlds? You know what I mean? When you're a kid, you just want to try these things. It's the same with Lego. You know, when you like build Lego and you just try to imagine yourself being part of it. So I used to really think about, like, because I used to collect pirate Lego. My family did anyway, because it was handed down to me, and then we passed it on to another generation in the family. A cavern, like a big cave with like a Lego ship. I had it on my own Lego ship, guys. It was crazy. But you always wanted to be part of that world, and I feel like when you're that age, you forget about it. You know, you forget about everything around you, like going outside and that. As much as it was so cool with like the like football, or like going on a skateboard, or learn how to go on a like bike or something, you know what I mean? Stuff that you want to do outside, it didn't feel as cool as being inside these worlds. When I got to that age, I think around before I was 12 years old, obviously we had the PlayStation 2. And funny enough, one of the first games I saw on the PlayStation 2 was GTA 3. And I'm actually currently 100% in the game. And I think that's why I kind of feel like I'm at full circle with that game at the moment, because it just feels like, how is that game 20 years old? But anyway, carry on. And I remember my friend brought round, not my friend, my brother's friend, I should say, Chris, his name. He's PlayStation 2 for the first time. I don't know what it was. I just walked into my brother's room one time, and I see him playing GTA 3, and I was hooked, mate. I was hooked, because I just didn't know what was going on, but it was the realism, shooting things, driving around, the radio. It was, like I say, it was all things adapted to me. Looked amazing, and I just want to get on there. And I look at my PS1 and I think, nah, man, I want that. I want that. But anyway, we will continue.
Played what I was given, and although I didn't know it at the time, that simplicity was freeing. I cherished those games because of it, replaying them countless times. My gaming space felt like home. A small CRT TV in my bedroom, playing my PlayStation from beneath my bed covers. I had gaming strategy guides from my favourite gaming worlds like Metal Gear Solid and Digimon World. It was all I thought about. When my parents...
So the only games I used to think about quite a lot when I was younger at that time was probably... It was Resident Evil, and it was Metal Gear Solid. And Metal Gear Solid came around, I think, when I was 13, 14, 2004. How old was I then? 11 or 12. I can't remember. But I don't remember anymore. Anyway. Wait, if it was 20 years ago. So... yeah, I was only 10 or 11. But I will mention this, and I don't think a lot of people know about this, but Metal Gear Solid taught me how to read, and it taught me how to express emotion. Because there's some games out there that really did, because I won't go into it too much, but I didn't have a really good school life. I was bullied a lot at school, so I was always a loner. I was always on my own. So it was very hard for me to understand things at school. Yeah, for an autistic person, it's hard to express things and write things down on paper for me, and it just I couldn't concentrate. I was always worried about what people were thinking of me. Like, even at that age, I was very, 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 very young, and I feel like it built up for me from video games. I think everyone has a way of finding a learning curve, and Metal Gear Solid, that's why it's a big impact on me. Same Resident Evil 2. How to pronounce words, Leon, Jill, like all they used to talk and like scream, shout. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on with that. But when it came to Metal Gear Solid, the narrative in that game, that's what brought it to life, because I found like books really hard to get into. It's like again, it's the expression of how people speak to you, and I feel like that's, you know, it's the storytelling. You know what I mean? I think that's where it came from.
Walked in or I was called to do something. It broke the immersion briefly, but once that door was closed again, I was back in that world. Games were mostly a private escape. My brother was only 1 year old at the time, so I mostly played them by myself.
For me, playing games with my sibling, my brother. So I actually get, funny enough, I asked this question to him earlier. So he was into video games. He started with the Super Nintendo. He played the Mario game. He played Sega Mega Drive, and then he went on to PS1. But he skipped the Nintendo 64. But it's because my family were they were Sony driven at the time. This was like late 90s, and that's why they looked at the PlayStation and they thought, this looks really good. You know, put my brother onto it. Bam, there we go. And since then, we've always been a PlayStation family, I guess. But he like I say, he was on the PlayStation 1, and then he went on the PS2 for a little while, but then he started to veer off when PS3 came around. And I asked him, like, why did you come off the games for a while? And he said, well, bro, I'll be honest, mate. He said, I just went out a lot and got drunk and forgot about video games. I was like, damn. And he told me that today. I've been wondering that for like 20 years. And there's me thinking, oh, he just got bored or something. No, he goes, no, I went out clubbing too much and got drunk and then forgot about video games. I was like, damn, you know. But well, okay, fair enough. And but we did play video games together a little bit. We did play a bit of Crash Team Racing. I'm trying to think what else we played. We did play a few things together, but my brother, like I say, he was always outgoing, so.
Sometimes I had friends over to play with, and I would light up at the chance to use the multi-tap for the PlayStation. I was always excited at the idea of playing my favourite games 4-player split screen, and when my friends weren't round, I would sometimes load up my multiplayer games on my own and play with both of my controllers. Getting and opening new games was a special event. My favourite part of it was the smell.
This is what I can resonate with so freaking much. Every time I used to buy a new game, the first thing I would do is just do... Even this has the new smell in a way. I'm not joking. This has the... It kind of has that plastic fresh smell. I can be just high on it. Go... it's such a nice feeling. I can't understand or express how, but you know.
Sniff of a new game is a strong memory of mine, and they always had a similar smell. Sometimes that smell could stick around for years if I kept the game closed. It's still one of my favourite smells to this day. Voice lines from games would also get stuck in my head, and I would act like my favourite characters when I was at school. During break times, I would imagine how Solid Snake would sneak around the playgrounds, and imagine myself sneaking around and taking out guards.
That was me.
I spent many nights at home trying to not wake my parents, stealthing around at night time.
Funny story with that. So he says about sneaking around. I don't think I've even told my parents this. I used to think that I could try and do this at Christmas, trying to find the presents. So I basically would sneak around, do this, and do, you know, like when he like leans on the wall and everything. And then when I used to sneak around, like trying to be as quiet as possible and trying to like look like you're lock picking a freaking door when technically you're just like turning the knob and then trying to open the wardrobe or something. That was basically me trying to be Solid Snake at Christmas time, just to double check that I found I got the presents I wanted. Badge him, I know it's a really bad thing to do, but that was basically me. But there we go.
learning to walk softly up and down the stairs. I'd often invent my own rules. I used to have an obsession with driving like the AI did in Gran Turismo 2. I would try and drive the exact same racing lines that the bots drove, brake like they did, drive smoothly like they did, and it felt satisfying to be able to pull this off. Many of my favourite games I didn't actually
What game
own.
is that?
I had
I don't
a
even know
number
what
of
that
demo
is.
discs, and I would play these demos over and over again. I played the Crash Team Racing demo so many times that when I finally had a full copy of the game, it felt
Oh, I had fun with boxes, and my brother would be like, "It's just a box." Yeah, I mean, I think my mum and dad would always just talk about Santa for a little while until I was like, what, 12? I don't even know when I stopped believing in him. Anyone that is believing in Santa, I'm very, very sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. Yeah, so I would basically say, yeah, but you make sure you get it right. And then they'll be like, well, that's only Santa. I said, no, mum, no, dad, please. They'll be like, no, Santa knows, that's it. And then they'll be like you just said, it's just a box. I'll be like, the thing is, they would blend in the shoe boxes they had in their wardrobe as actual gifts, but they wouldn't tell you because they didn't expect you to look in them because they'd think, oh, it's just a shoe box, you know? But damn, they used to put them in there.
strange. I was so used to having access to just one map that having access to the full game felt like a boundary that I shouldn't cross, like it ruined the mystery. Encompassing experiences. They were places that I wanted to be, and looking back now, maybe it wasn't just the games that were different, maybe it was me. There's the obvious things like less responsibilities in life, but I hadn't yet learned what distraction felt like. I hadn't developed a reflex to alt-tab from life. I didn't feel the need to numb things back then. All I needed was one world to fall into, and games gave me that world. If you've ever felt like you were too into a game, maybe this will sound familiar. At 22 years old, gaming had transitioned from pure immersion to intense progression.
Okay, so for me, I don't believe I started at 21. I actually started earlier than that. So to give you my story, I think it started when I was 15, 16, when I was at school. So I was still playing PS2 stuff for a little bit. PS3 was coming out. I think the first games I got on my PS3 were, funny enough, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End on PS3, which I mentioned on Discord. And FIFA 2008? Was it FIFA 08? I think it was FIFA 08. Yeah, FIFA 2008. Medal of Honor Airborne. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Medal of Honor was also one of the first games I played when I was like 5 or 6 years old. By the way, one of the best franchises ever made as an FPS shooter. EA fucked that up. Anyway, carrying on. Yeah, so 15 to 16, I was like introduced into YouTube. I think then, was it 14? I don't know, around about that age, between 14 and 16. And I was told about competitive gaming. Then one of my friends at school, my only friend at school, Sam, hope to get back in touch with him one day, but you never know. But he introduced me to Metal Gear Online, which I never knew about, and I technically didn't have internet then. I did and I didn't, because obviously back then you would have like a limited like download speed for a lot of things, you know, stuff like that. I was watching this video, and then obviously people will get like going crazy, like 720p, 1080p, oh my lord, look at this HD, blah blah blah. And he was showing me Metal Gear Online. So if you guys are not familiar, Metal Gear Solid had a separate online game, and it was basically a third-person shooter, but you would have like certain modes like Team Deathmatch, Team Sneaking, where you'd have stealth camouflage, and you would have to kill the other team, and the first one to get like the Garco or the Keraton on the opposite side of the map wins the game. Very, very unique game modes for its time. It was peak. It was so peak. But I was introduced into the competitive side, and I met the clan that I'm with today called He Who Dares. And He Who Dares basically were the competitive UK team, at the time, and they were introduced into many leagues, and they were very grindy. Mumra 2K, that's his name. And I wasn't part of the crew yet. I was in parts of the crew really late, so 2012, because I was too nervous to join. I told Mumra that, and if he ever watches this video, he knows that. And he was so pissed off that I didn't join right when it was in its prime, because he gets so frustrated. He said, mate, we could have been in, we could have gone to Japan, we could have had you fucking there, what are you doing? He'd be like, I remember he used to say that. He said, you would have been part of the fucking crew, you dumb bastard. Oh, it was so funny. I was too nervous to join because I didn't think I was that good. And but I used to be very inspired by them because they used to work together as a team. That's the very crucial thing about these guys. They were so enthusiastic. They were very like the team ethic about them was so good. But it comes down to professionalism as well. And I think, like I say, Mumra had that delivery set out great for them, and he put them in, set them up properly. And that's where it kind of started. And then I looked into Call of Duty because I was playing Call of Duty 4 for a little while, and that's when all the Call of Duty games started coming into play. And but I was more like clocked in with Metal Gear Online because I just wanted to learn everything about that game. And then I moved on to Resident Evil, and Resident Evil had its own online mode as well, and that was Resident Evil 5. And Resident Evil 5 Versus was a very unique online community. I will mention that. And that's where I met my ex-girlfriend that I was with for about 9 years. We're still friends now, but she lived in America, and I used to go and travel and see her backwards and forwards, and that was when I was 18. And then it like started to go into these kind of games like Counter-Strike, and Counter-Strike, I can't believe, I think that's the most hours I've put into a video game. I don't understand why. I don't understand why now. I don't know why I did it. I think I clocked in over 1,500 hours, and I got to DMG. And I used to play that with friends for a very long time, and I'd be up all night, and that was in my late 20s. And then moving on to Valorant. But I could never get into World of Warcraft. I tried to, just couldn't. No, just nah. It didn't connect with me. But also, I will mention this because it's also something I'm looking back to get into. I was into flight simulators, and even at a young age, I was. I mean, aviation's part of my life, but I wouldn't say that was something. It was just something I loved doing on the side because I love aviation. But I want to get a pilot's license one day. One of my goals. I've always wanted to have a pilot's license since I was a very poor Jesus. Whenever I went to my first air show when I was like 3 or 4, I was very young. My family introduced me to aviation quite early. So yeah. Anyway, we're carrying on.
It became about climbing, about ranking up, about finding a sense of identity through performance. Whether it was leveling in World of Warcraft, unlocking attachments in Call of Duty, or ranking up in StarCraft and Counter-Strike, there was always a ladder and always someone above me that I wanted to beat. And the thing is, I felt like I thrived in it.
Look at that.
Chase gave me a sense
peak
of
CS,
direction.
and he's got the
It
video
made
footage.
life feel just
That
a
is
little
so cool.
bit less aimless. I didn't have a clear path in the real world, but in-game, I could get better. I could see the numbers go up. I could prove to myself that I was getting better. At the time, it never felt like a sacrifice. Gaming felt like the only meaningful thing that I could do. Real-world goals, sleep, meals, they all took a back seat. I didn't consciously choose to neglect them, they just felt irrelevant. Gaming felt like my identity. If I wasn't ranking up or getting better, I felt like I was nothing. At this time, Discord was the main place to talk to my friends. It was for the most part my entire social life. Hearing my friends every night was comforting. I didn't question it, didn't wonder if it was healthy. It felt natural to have my friendships exist through headsets and screens. It was our community. Gaming gave my life structure.
So I would back him up on that. So like I say, there wasn't a lot of people that I would speak to outside, and I still don't do it to this day. There's no one I speak to apart from Discord. There's no one like physically that I see. And that only friend that I saw was my school friend, though, where I used to live, but I moved up further away from where I am now, where I see him, but he moved away anyway. But the fact is it, like, most of them people that I speak to today, they know who they are, that they are my family, they're my closest group. And I always say to them, I wish all of us were so close, you know. And I'm still meeting people along this way that I know that I want to go and see. And I'm getting to the point now where it's really affecting me deeply. And I want to be with these people. They bring great energy, you know. I can connect to them very well, and it's just like, you know, what else can I do, you know? It's such a shame, but I'm very humble, because without them I don't know where I'd be today. So, you know who you are. If you ever watch this video, you know who you are. But it's the same with Dial. I've known Dial for a long ass time, and he's been my closest boy for over 10 years. But there's never been a day where I felt like he's never come away from my side, you know. And if some people might not know this, but I met Dial through my ex-girlfriend that I was together with for about nearly 10 years, and we grew a massive brother friendship out of it. I just, you know, but distance has always been a bother for me, because he lives in America and I live in the UK. But there's never been a day where I felt like he's not like sitting next to me. That's how it feels to me. He feels like I'm sitting on the couch next to him. You know, it's just incredible. And it's the same with the other people that I've met over the years. Some of them I haven't met physically yet, but some of them I've known for as long as Dial. And yeah, it's truly something. Really, truly is something.
My days revolved around gaming sessions. If we decided to meet at 6 PM, everything before then was just preparation. I'd rush errands, cancel plans, and clear my schedule to protect that time. It wasn't.
And I will clear this up, but obviously I do have my family. I'm not saying I'm on my own completely, but you know, when you want to come away from your family and you want to meet friends and that, it's frustrating, because like I said, all of them live in different countries. And I'm very lucky with the family I've got, and they support me through everything I do. And it makes me feel calmer, feels me, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just a lot of things I wish I could express to you guys, but I can't. It's just too much. It's overwhelming. But like I say, it's I'm very lucky.
Just a hobby. It dictated my whole sense of daily rhythm and control. I remember the moments that I hit the AK rank in Counter-Strike. For the longest time I was stuck in Silver and Gold Nova. The AK rank seemed like this impossible rank that I would never reach, but then I got there, and although it wasn't the highest rank in the game, it felt like I had completed the game. I got the rank that I thought I could never achieve, and I wasn't alone with it. My friends were grinding alongside me. We were all at roughly the same skill level, slowly climbing together. That camaraderie, those late nights on Discord.
So the highest rank I ever got in Counter-Strike was DMG. And then I knew that was my peak, and I think that's enough. And it's funny, I've always had that attitude with video games. As much as people say, why are you stopping there? Carry on. But you know when to stop. And that's, I think, a lot of people have that problem today with video games, is knowing when to stop. And DMG, I feel like that's my performance level, and that's basically above Master Elite Guardian, if I remember correctly, if I've got that right, as I call it MG, because you had the MG, Master Guardian Elite, I think, and then DMG, then LE, then LEM. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyone can tell me that. But anyway, so, and it's the same with Valorant. Valorant, I got to rank Diamond, and then I stopped, because I knew that was enough. I knew that that's my peak, and then I don't want to go back to that, because I feel like you're mentally putting more pressure on yourself. As much as, if you believe, like I say, if you believe that you can get to those ranks, go for it. I'm all for that. But when you know, technically, if you know in your mind where you know where to stop at, you know, that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to keep pushing yourself on something that you know you can't get to.
The team strategies, the small victories,
It's just going to cause
those
burnout.
made it worth it. But when they stopped playing and it became hard to fill those 5-man teams, it got harder to care. I would let my anger pour over, and my mistakes like missing shots, losing rounds, I would tear myself down.
Sorry, I find that so funny when he does that.
Like missing shots, losing rounds.
I love that.
Let my anger pour over, and my mistakes like missing shots, losing.
That's so good. I love that. That to me is like my kind of anger, but the thing is, there's sometimes I verbally did say stuff. I know I did, but that was like, I knew when to come off. And I know there were some people that I used to play with, like, Jim, you're alright, mate. That's not like you. Some people just used to laugh and thought it was hilarious. I can't enjoy. Anyway, we'll get to that at the end anyway. All them kind of games that are currently going on now, we'll get to
rounds. I would tear myself down. I would yell.
But the anger was there.
But it was aimed at myself.
Actually, speaking of anger, I will show you how angry I did get in a video game. How angry I very, very much got. So this is my very first PlayStation 3 controller. This is when I was playing Metal Gear Online. I think I was about 14, 15. And I lost my rank. I can't remember what no, was it level? I was 15, level 15. And that took so for me, that took a long ass time for me to get to. So this is my PlayStation 3 controller, my very first one. And you can see the damage I did to that. And that was because I lost my level 15 rank in Metal Gear Online. And what I did, I went like this. So I was sitting on the floor at the time. I was sitting like, I did this. I went, whoosh. I went really freaking hard on the floor. The analog stick pinged out. This just shattered, right? And then all I see is my character doing this, spinning around in circles. And my parents came in like, what the fuck was that? Because I hit it so hard on the ground. Really hard. That's the most angry I got. And this is just a gentle reminder, when you're playing video games, don't do it. Just don't do it, because you will regret it.
Sometimes I would stop and think, why am I doing this? After a string of bad matches, when my rank slipped, or a friend stopped logging in regularly, I'd pause and question myself. Why am I so angry? Why does this matter so much? Deep down, I knew that it wasn't healthy, but I couldn't stop. Quitting felt like admitting defeat, and I wasn't ready to be a loser, not even to myself. At some point, the grind overtook the joy. I wasn't sure when, but losing wasn't just frustrating me anymore. It broke me. I remember checking out
50 years ago. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's fine. You know, we're already kids then. You know what I mean? We're teenagers.
I wasn't even warmed up. I made mistakes. And I got so mad that I punched myself in the head. I gave myself a concussion for 4 days. I wish I could say that was a one-off, but it wasn't. But I don't think it was an anger issue. I think it was an identity issue. I wasn't just playing games. I was measuring my self-worth through them. I had no backup identity outside of the game, so when I failed in the game, I felt like I failed in life. And that's the problem. When games become the only place where you feel like you're progressing, it's easy to go too far. But back then, I didn't know that.
And that's the same with me. I feel like as time's gone on with video games, I've been in like this bubble of where I'm not progressing in life, but I'm trying to progress in a video game, like my life depends on it. So I always used to try and be better, and I think that's why if you've ever played a video game, I've tried to be better. And that comes from the competitive side of these video games. It just I think, like I say, it's ricocheted off a lot of games like that. You know, even since the Metal Gear Online days when I was 12, 13 years old, or probably a little bit older than that. You know, I think I was 14. Must have been 14. Yeah, 14, and it kind of, it takes a long time for you to understand what you're doing is wrong, and I think I started to learn about that in my mid-20s.
Just knew that climbing made me feel like I mattered until I took it too far. Now, at the age of 32, the grind doesn't hit the same. Sometimes I question if I even still like video games, because I'll open up Steam and scroll past hundreds of games, not really looking for fun, just something to pull me out of the mood that I can't give a name to. I click through the specials tab, hover over.
Does anyone relate to that? I'm going to be honest. Now, when I've got so much going on in my life and I'm doing other things, I play a game now around about roughly 6 or, well, right now, around about 8 o'clock. I look at my library and I've got over 600 games. Some of them I'm not even played. I think about 70% of them I'm not even played yet. I've just got them on like deals and stuff. I look at them and I think, what the fuck am I doing? Well, I'll be doing that for about 2 to 3 hours. I mean, I think I've done that with, I think in Mikey's stream. I think I said that to him. I said, I don't know what to play, mate. He says, Jim, if you've been looking about that for an hour, just go to bed. Just go to bed. Because that's how this is the thing. I was doing that for years, man. I wasn't talking like recently. This has been going on for me for years. Again, thanks to this, it kind of saved me with video games. But anyway, carrying on.
Over stuff that I've already played. I might add a game to my wish list and then promptly close the window and just sit there feeling a bit numb. Gaming alone can often leave me feeling empty. Recently I reinstalled StarCraft hoping to feel some of that old excitement that I
it's not my kind of vibe.
It was
RTS.
familiar and comforting
Some of them are
first, but after a couple of matches alone, I felt this quiet sadness come over me. The memories were all there, but without friends to share the victories or defeats with, it felt meaningless, like visiting a childhood home after everyone's moved out. It's also choice fatigue. It's the pressure of having too many options. It's knowing that even if I pick a game, I might quit it 5 minutes later, and I do. I'll open up a new game, walk forward 10 steps, and then decide to press Alt F4.
So I did that. Funny enough, I did that with Cyberpunk. And we all know how good that fucking game is, man. That game is amazing. I've not even tried it out yet. And I got to like the first part of when you walk up to that big dude that you meet up with at the bar. And then I was like, yeah. I'm turning it off.
Not because it's bad, but because I'm still looking for that purpose. I'm searching for that game that I can devote my life to, that I can grind at and feel that sense of progression again. But most games feel too pointless to bother. I think that my attention span has fundamentally changed.
Look at that CR. So Jake sent me this picture before he made the video. And I said to him, mate, that looks gorgeous. And I knew it was a Sony because obviously the badge has been taken off. It's his brother's or something. But mate, I miss my own CRTV. But I said to him, I don't know where to put it. The whole reason why we didn't like CRTVs is because they're too fucking heavy. And we didn't know where to put them. You know what I mean? Most of the time you put them in the corner of the room because they took out the whole corner.
At 12 years old, it was just one screen, full immersion. Today, it's fragmented. I'll put a YouTube video or a podcast on my second monitor while I'm gaming. My attention is split.
Anyone relate to that? Does anyone do that right now? Put your hand up.
Neither fully
we all have that same sort of ideology with these games right now.
Occupying my brain enough
streamers.
to distract it from itself.
Yep.
It's more about filling time than truly experiencing something. I find myself missing split-screen play, but then not wanting to leave the house. I think that I miss being on the same sofa, playing Halo with friends, but what I really miss is the past. But somehow, now that everything is online, it can feel lonelier than ever. There are still games that I find comfort in, and World of Warcraft is one of those games, especially the Burning Crusade expansion. There's something about the music, the pacing, the familiarity of it. It's nostalgic and meditative. It reminds me of times where I felt okay. It reminds me of evenings when I'd play high.
So it's kind of very similar to me. Like, I think everyone's getting this kind of vibe when you play like a remaster of a game that you probably played in your childhood. Like, for example, me playing Croc, revisiting that remastered did give me you feel like you're back in that like state of mind of where you were when you were younger. You know what I mean? You're not jumping back through time. You're like in a trance. To me, it's like a trance. know? And I think that's why people go back to World of Warcraft with the new expansions. Like, nothing's not changed too much, still the same, but it's something new. It's something to be delivered, but you're still in that frame of mind of when you were when you first played it. So, do you know what I mean? It is such a unique thing, and I think that's what remasters are doing and remakes.
Relaxed and feeling content. I don't live that way anymore, but the memory stays in the game. Sometimes I do still get that spark. Recently I played a game called Nordhold, and it completely sucked me in for hours. I didn't look at any reviews or trailers. I just had a gut instinct to try it, and a surprise when it actually delivered. I feel that these gaming moments are becoming more rare, but they remind me that the magic isn't gone. It's just buried under layers of noise and pressure and expectations. It's easy to say that games have changed, and they did, but I think that I changed more. At 12 years old, those games were magic because I hadn't been taught to want anything more. At 22 years old, games gave me a ladder to climb when real life had none. And now at 32 years old, I still game, just not with the same intensity. I'm not looking to escape my life anymore, I just want to enjoy it. If I'm lucky enough to make it to 42 years old, I hope that games are still part of my life. Not as an escape, but as a connection. Maybe with friends, maybe with my past self, and maybe with my kids. I won't force anything on them because I know how that goes. But if they want to share a game with me, I'll be there. And if they ask about the games that I used to love, I'll show them. Not because I want them to feel what I felt, but because I hope they find something in that game that matters to them. Maybe I haven't outgrown video games. I've stopped expecting video games to give my life meaning, and perhaps by letting go of these heavy expectations, I can once again recapture some of that original magic. And if this video resonated with you, then click this video to hear more. Thanks.
There you go, guys. That's the video. So, and that's how when you look at, like, it's basically Resident Evil 2, Metal Gear Solid, and games like that that just gave such an amazing experience that you will never forget, and they will never go away. They never will. Them sort of games will live on. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm not talking about my games. I'm talking about your games. I'm talking about you right now. The games that you grew up with. Okay? And that's why I make this channel. Because everything I've got on my shelf. Stupid camera. Blur me out right there. God damn. Everything that saved me from gaming. And I'm not just saying that. There was a time when I was in my mid-20s, I was going to give up gaming for good, because that's when my brother gave up, in a way. I thought maybe that's life, maybe that's it. But I resonated with the older stuff more than what I do now, because, like, I think it's a generational thing now. I've even put a vow to myself that I will never buy another PlayStation console. That's it. I feel like that, to me, is enough. I don't know how big the game is, how cool it looks. I think with me, Demon's Souls remake, when that came out, that was the only reason why I got the PlayStation 5 in the first place, was Demon's Souls. And we all knew how that went down. It was great, it was amazing, but mechanically it didn't feel the same as the original. Some of it did, but you got to remember, it was made by Bluepoint. You know, it wasn't made by From Software. The format was, but the mechanical wise was changed a little bit more, you know? And it was like a generation thing when I started playing other games, and how physical copies are kind of changing, where you gotta, like, digitally buy them now, or you get a code within a case, which I find absolutely pathetic. That's what's changing me, you know? And you learn a lot when you're younger, but I feel like it doesn't matter about age as well. I think there's a lot of people that, you know, start video games even now, and they get that same feeling that we got when we were younger. Big up to Jake, because, like I say, without him, I wouldn't be making this part of the stream happen. It was something different, and like I say, if you want to check him out, guys, Kneecap Jake, he comes out with some really good, knowledgeable stuff and wisdom. Even though he has a massive, beautiful beard, but he has a lot of wisdom, and he's very honest. So go and check him out. So thank you.